What's poppin', my people? Today we have an awesome upgrade for the MWS system, which is technically my Double Eagle Noveske N4 MWS system. And that is the single, what I believe to be the most essential upgrade for your MWS system besides a bucking and inner barrel. And this is the new bolt stop plate. This is going to replace our Z system plate and make it even easier to lock back on empty. And there's a reason for this. You see, if you haven't seen in the last couple of videos, we just upgraded to an A2 style stock, which means that the buffer tube on the inside of here is smaller and much longer. And the challenge with that is when I'm running the blowback system on the MWS system, it over travels a little bit too far into the back of the system, and I've tried buffering it with some coins just to see how far I can go. I've installed the A2 style buffer tube, which we're going to take a look at in a second, and I've adjusted and tried different springs, whether it be standard springs, 120%, 130%, and real steel springs, and what I found to work the best right now is the 130. The issue that I was originally having is when it did blow back, though, it blowed back, or it went too far, and it would get stuck and be slamming into the back of the buffer tube on the inside, and that we can't have because it's going to destroy our bolt and destroy and warp our buffer tube. We won't be able to remove it. So what I was thinking is a stronger buffer tube spring, some buffers, the longer buffer, and then this guy, which is going to allow the Z system plate or the Z plate to catch the bolt on empty a little bit further forward, so it doesn't have to travel as far back. So it'll make the system, I guess, have to work a little bit easier, if that makes sense. So it doesn't have to blow it back as far with the heavier recoil spring. And I guess we're gonna see about doing that. So I'm just gonna throw this mat down because we're gonna have some pins and stuff as we get into the trigger housing and the FCU. And we'll take a little bit of a closer look here because we're gonna start taking this guy apart. So the first thing we're gonna have to do is just pop the mag out. And we're gonna pop these two pins out from left to right. And I have noticed since I've done some of these upgrades, specifically the front pin is a little bit harder to remove than the pin originally was. So just to keep in mind, and I'll show you the buffer tube and what I was talking about in a second. Pop that pin out, and these pins will stay in place. Boom. Okay. Now you can see the buffer tube buffer that I have in there. This is designed specifically for the A2s, so it's a little bit longer because the buffer tube is longer. And then I have a 130 spring. Now what I have to do is pop out the entire trigger box, and it should be pretty simple if I remember correctly. I think specifically what we have to do is press on the mag release. You got to press it out decent ways, pull, and then rotate it, but keeping this finger depressed. And this is going to get rid of our mag release. It's the first step in the many steps. At some point, this is going to come out so far that you won't need to depress it anymore, and it should just unscrew. Now, another thing you'll see, obviously this is a Tokyo Marui MWS clone. The trigger box should be a lot smoother to pull out, I've heard. So we'll test it out in a second too. Don't lose any of these parts. Find a place to store them. You got the spring, the button, and the bolt release. Next, we have to press out the fire selector switch. I don't know what direction we have to put it in order to pop it out. Gonna see if I can just wiggle this on out. I do not, like I said, remember what position this needs to be in to pop out. Okay, I'm sorry. Just set the hammer first, and then you should be able to wiggle it out of place. Just keep wiggling. It'll pop out. Now, there is a spring and detent here, so just be careful. You gotta make sure that you don't lose that. I don't think that's gonna come out on its own. And next, I know these are knurled pins. Come on. There it is. Next, what we're gonna do is there is a small screw in the back of the trigger housing, and we just gotta attack that. Hopefully, it's not that hard to remove. I'm gonna need like a longer bit, I would assume. See if that's of the right size. Yeah, oh, that comes out nice and easy too. I was worried that was going to be super Loctited in place. You never know. All right. Drop that out. Okie dokie. So with the pin pulled out, this pin punched out, the fire selector switch and the bolt catch and release button all popped out. Ah, please be easy. Look how easy that is. Holy crud. Heck yeah. Oh man, I didn't expect that to be that easy. And there's your empty lower. Okay. So there you can see your Z plate. This guy should just pop out. And you can see pretty simple how everything works. I'll just pull the bolt out. The Z plate catches on this steel hook back here. So unlike some of your real steel, like mimicking AR or I guess systems from like VFC or GHK, they're going to lock up in the front of the bolt. But the way that the MWS system is modeled is to increase the likelihood of locking back on the bolt. It doesn't lock back on like the standard bolt catch and release by the mag. It locks back with the Z plate, and the Z plate locks back on the middle of the bolt so that it doesn't have to travel as far back. So it increases the likelihood the bolt is going to lock back on empty, even as gas gets a little bit lower, because you don't need as much gas to throw the bolt all the way back to get to lock in the front. Does that make sense? Now the upgraded one is very similar, but it's a little bit lighter. And what it does is increases what I just explained to you. So instead of having to blow back a little bit less far, it's like a standard real steel modeled bolt that's going to lock back on that hook. It still has to blow back less far because it locks in the middle of the bolt. But now that hook is a little further forward, so on even less gas pressure, it can fly back even less far, so it'll work even better with a stronger recoil spring and hook on this guy. And it's lighter, so it should be easier for the springs to throw it upwards. And we should, theoretically, we're just going to remodel the entire thing. How was this on there? So that guy sits like that, so we have to get this guy around the pin just like that, and then making sure we don't mess up any springs or anything, just re-drop it back into the MWS system. See that? It comes with this cool, like, I guess, gasoline oil colored finish. Now, we're just going to reverse engineer it. So we'll drop the screw in the back. Oh, I almost just lost that. There's wood chips behind me, so that would have been miserable. That didn't work. See how easy that thing slides in and out of place? It kind of got me like reminiscing kind of similar like the Tokyo Marui AKs, where the inside housing just pops on out. Cool. Nice and tight. We're just going to knock this guy back in place. Remember, it goes back in on the right side. And we'll just get the back of this guy to finish the job. Make sure we're going in centered. Should be good. Awesome. Okay. We can push that in place. We're going to drop our fire selector switch back in. I don't know if you can see, there's a small plate on the bottom, not the pin in the back, the plate on the bottom. That's going to get in the way, so we have to like depress it to get it around the front ring and into this back track. So I'm going to start it in the safe position. I'm going to push in the pin and push that little bar down, and that should allow us to move that guy into the track. I'm going to have to get that pin out again, because now what we need to do is to press the spring and detent. We just push that back like that. And now we're in place. See that? Cool. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to start with taking these guys. We're going to drop this guy in place. That is good. Spring goes on down. And then little bolt catch piece. Remember, press this in and then start to rotate this guy in a clockwise orientation. Probably easiest to get something to push it in. You're just going to screw until it gets to the outside wall, and that'll latch your bolt in place. Now, just to confirm, you can see how the system works. This pushes up on the mag, the empty mag, right? And you're going to see the Z plate lift upwards. And that's how it's going to lock, like we showed before, on the bolt. I'm not going to put that all the way in, but it's going to lock. Does that make sense? We'll just toss the spring back in, and yeah, you could see where it started to eat up at the inside wall. You really don't want that. That was from me firing it with the stock spring in place, and that was just foolish of me. The 130 seems to be the place to be. We'll toss that buffer in. And then let's get the upper together, and then we'll test it all. Oh man, I'm really excited. And I have something really cool in mind for the next upgrade, I guess like cosmetic upgrade for this, that I'll show you guys in a little while. I haven't picked it up yet, but I have plans to. I think it might look really cool on the front end of this. I've also noticed that this front pin got a little bit harder to put in unless you put it in first. So make sure you put that front pin in all the way first. It makes it a little easier with all the upgrades that I've done. And that, my friends, is how we put it all together. Let's widen the angle a tad bit. And why don't we make sure everything's working the way that we want it to. Cool. We are in semi. The bolt locks back. And let's see if it locks back on empty here. There we go. Like I said, this is probably the best upgrade for your MWS in my opinion. It's just going to increase that. Even if you don't have the setup that I do, it's going to seriously increase the likelihood that you lock the bolt back on empty, even on like the lowest of low gas fill in your mag. It's already a super light recoil spring, but it also helps if you have a heavier recoil spring in there as well. Got some really cool videos coming out soon too. And let me know if there's any other crazy upgrades you want me to throw on the inside of this. I have external ideas. Inside, I'd love to do it if you guys have any ideas, but I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.